And you're listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM. As we're rounding out the show now, 20 minutes before the top of the 11 o'clock hour, AM Ocala Live, broadcasting to you live from the Paddock Mall, streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA, The Source Radio. As we finished up there before the bottom, we had ourselves a little bit there mentioned by Joe with a little call scam that's been going around in lieu of Social Security and stuff, and then, you know, what a time where people would try to take advantage of, so to speak, than of right now. So that was I actually wanted to play that again, as I have that at the bottom here, as I'll bring that up, is the idea.
Call is from Social Security Administration Office.
Social Security Administrative Office. So if you get those calls out there, anything that regards you of that, to disregard and hang up that phone. It is a scam. As we were also finishing up before the bottom there, we had Lena Williams stay on just a little bit longer as we were talking about on this day in history. As we were talking about some things all together there. On this date in history, where we had left off was that in 2001, on this date, March 23rd in 2001, the Mir space station came to an end, which was Russia's and the world's first consistently inhabited long-term research station, giving away as a prototype, so to speak, to the ISS, or International Space Station. It ended in 15 years in space when it was decommissioned in 2001 on this date. And I think I remember this a little bit, or maybe it was something else in lieu of another one later on, but I think I remember about the idea of the planned fiery plunge into the South Pacific, as it was set to be decommissioned and then burn up in the atmosphere as much as it could, and then whatever debris was left was there to still be on fire and then end up in the South Pacific Ocean. Also, as we move on here, on this date in history, March 23rd, we were talking about the Mount Redoubt, I think that I said, Mount Redoubt, a volcano eruption, as this took place in Alaska in 2009. And I'm also starting to think, too, in 2009 there was also the Iceland volcano that erupted, I think, as well in the same year. But with that, the National Weather Service had called it a light dusting for the idea of it taking place today, where more explosions had happened on March 22nd, and then four more explosions take place on the 23rd, which was today on this date in history in 2009. And as it had shut down, they say about canceled 19 flights due to the ash. And even at the Air Force Base, with Alaskan Airlines canceled 19 flights that day.
Wow, speaking of volcanoes, you know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of how sometimes whenever kids are, doing like science fair projects,
they always do a volcano.
Some might want to do something very generic.
Whenever science projects are brought up, like in Hollywood or like on TV, like there's always somebody that's trying to do some volcano. I've always thought that too. Is like
it's generic. That's something everybody wants to try because that's the first thing they can
and it's not even really an experiment. It's like if I put two things together, it erupts like a volcano. It's like it's like what science you getting after there. But yeah, it's funny how it always gets. It's the cliche science project is a volcano.
I personally never tried it in any science fair project that I've had in my days of the science fair.
What kind of science project did you end up doing? Can you remember?
Well, I remember one of them involved. I don't quite remember what my sixth grade one was about, but I do remember for seventh grade, I was trying to figure out the fastest way to cool a can of soda. Well, let's say you're all sweaty and then you go inside and get a can of soda. I know that's not good to drink when you're thirsty, but still for the experiment. And is it better to put in the fridge, the freezer, or in a cooler full of ice? The fastest way to make it to a nice cold temperature when it's nowhere near a cold temperature, like the fastest way to do it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what I did for sixth grade. I mean, I'll be able to remember if I, just try to really
That one you just mentioned was kind of interesting. I imagine that the ice chest, the cooler, probably did it the fastest, right? Surrounded by ice or around the ice. Do you remember?
Do I remember which way? What's the fastest? Honestly,
Do you remember the outcome of the experiment?
no, I do not. This was over a decade ago, and I didn't mention my stepmom. She tried.
Did all the work?
No.
Yeah, because I think about mine.
No.
Parents
I
have to
promise
help
that's
out
not it.
so much.
She tried out the volcano experiment when she was in
is that right?
elementary or middle school.
Yeah.
And then she won second place.
Really?
So she didn't win first place, but she did
She
get
came in
close.
second place for
Yeah.
the cliche volcano science
Silver
experiment.
medal, not the gold.
Now, I can remember mine. I don't know what year it was. I want to say it was maybe 7th or 8th grade. And my dad, he really helped me with this. So I had to come up with something, and I couldn't think of anything. We ended up coming down to this idea of what would keep things. Now, you were talking about getting things cold faster. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what we were looking at was how long in different materials could we keep things cold. In other words, like we had ice, which was going to be a better insulator. Was it going to be the newspaper, the wood chips, or what else did we use? We used newspaper, wood chips. I think we used dirt. I think we used something else. I think we maybe used hay or straw. And my dad worked with me quite a bit on that one. That was one of those science experiments that probably is worth it. And see, the funny thing is now, is when I'm thinking about these science projects. I did one in 5th grade. It was a last minute kind of thing, and it was where you heat up the bottle, like say a Coke bottle, and you take like a hard-boiled egg, and after you pour the water into the Coke bottle, because it's so hot and creates steam, that if you dump all that water out real quick and then put it like a hard-boiled egg right on top, that the amount of steam and everything from the heat, as it's changing pressure inside the bottle, it creates a vacuum and it can pull the boiled egg into the Coke bottle, which is pretty neat to watch, because over time you just watch the egg, because it's it's now softer, it gets pinched in the middle and comes right into the bottle. Well, somebody was already doing that, so just to get some kind of grade and be complete with it, I just said, yeah, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it with a carrot.
You're gonna do what?
I'm going to do it with a carrot.
Carrot? I actually had carrots last night for dinner. That wasn't a main dish, but it was a side.
So I was trying to do the same thing. I knew it wasn't going to work, but it was enough to get me like a C-, and it was stupid. But see, now after becoming a pilot, now a commercial pilot and flight instructor, I feel like there are so many different experiments that I could have done that would have been so easy, that would have gained the same concept and wouldn't have been that much of a big deal. And you don't know that until later on. And I can think of like 2 things now that I could have done. It associates a little bit with it's all science, but it associates a little bit more with aeronautical science and stuff. That would have been so easy, and it would have worked, and it would look cool, but it would have taken like no time at all and not even a whole lot of prep work. And I'm like, man, where was that when I was in 5th grade?
Oh yeah, there's just so many different kinds of science. There's earth science, life science, physical science. I don't know if you consider chemistry a science. I mean, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
So there's chemistry science, or is it called chemical science? I mean, that's not science.
That sounds like a good band name, Chemical Silence.
That does sound pretty cool, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, up next,
Chemical
followed by Go Gabba
science.
Dabba Dance, or whatever you call them.
Dance,
Up
gabba
next,
dance.
up next, Chemical Silence.
Chemical science.
It sounds cool because of the band My Chemical Romance.
I was just
which is
about
real
to bring them
popular.
up. That's
Yeah.
exactly what was on my mind. Are you a My Chemical Romance fan?
Absolutely, I am. They're on my
yeah?
Apple list right now.
Did you know that last December I believe it was in December or no, last November, sometime October. Yeah, last October. I believe it was like right at the beginning. I'm losing track. So last
They're touring.
October.
Yeah, they're going to do a tour.
They actually reunited.
Yeah, they reunited to do a tour, which unfortunately now everything COVID-19 doesn't look like it's going to stand out. But But it was the idea that they got together.
Yeah, it wasn't the best time
for
to
the
get back together.
for the majority of our demographic who listen to the radio show AM Ocala Live. It's a band. It's a punk band that goes back a little bit with me in my early 20s and stuff that goes back from the early 2000s. So I know most of the people who are listening right now are like, I have no idea what those guys are talking about. But good band nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. My
Now-
favorite album by them is The Black Parade. I'm sure that's yours too, right? It's
Yeah,
everybody's.
yeah, that's a
everybody
big
knows that. That's the album that introduced me to the band in the first place.
Yeah. Now, as we're moving on here, still with On This Date in History, as we got 10 minutes before we come to the top 11 o'clock hour. On this date in history, this one here is kind of fascinating, that on this date, March 23rd in 2010, in 2010, President Barack Obama had signed his health care bill, which had been hailed as the most expansive social legislation in decades, saying it enshrines the core principle that everybody should have some basic security when it comes to their health care. Having signed the measure, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, during a ceremony in the East Room of the White House, he spoke to an audience of the Democratic lawmakers who have ridden the legislation process. They interrupted him repeatedly with cheers and applause and standing ovations that on this day, 10 years ago, Obamacare was signed into law. That's pretty, that's ironic. as
I
a
remember those
healthcare,
days.
healthcare reform bill signed into law on this date, 10 years ago. Incredible.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
incredible.
they called it, Obamacare. That was something that you just could not forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back before I started paying for my own health insurance. So I really don't know what the rates were like back then compared to now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Looking here is 1929. Just to bring back a little history. Sometimes, too, as we bring on this date in history, there's usually a tidbit thrown at us from Tish about somebody a little bit older born on this day who resembles a place in history. It says here that on this date in history, March 23rd, they're celebrating the birthday of, born in 1929, Roger Bannister. He's best known and remembered for breaking the 4-minute mile on the 6th of May, 1954, with just 3,000 spectators during a meet between British AAA and Oxford University at Iffley Road Track in Oxford. Like many records before, since to break an important barrier in long distances help in the need by front runners who can take the pace in earlier laps. These runners should also be mentioned, Chris Brasher and Chris Chataway. It should also be noted that the commentator for the race, live on BBC Radio, was Harold Abrams of Chariots of Fire fame. So it says here, not necessarily on this date in history he did this, but his birthday is for breaking the first person best known, Roger Bannister, is best known and remembered for breaking the 4-minute mile on the 6th of May. Incredible. Could you do that?
Mile?
Yeah, could you do that? Could you run a mile in less than 4 minutes?
That's what I was going to ask you. That's exactly what it sounds like, running a mile in less than 4 minutes. Honestly,
Do you run?
Yeah. I mean, not as much as I used to because I used to do running more than strength training at the gym, but now I do a lot of strength training. But yeah, I still like to run, and I'm definitely a fast runner. Definitely nice and
Quick?
endurance. Yeah, I have a lot of endurance, stamina, quick. Yeah, definitely quick. Yeah, I got speed. So anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I've never actually attempted to run a whole mile in less than 4 minutes.
Maybe you should do it.
I should definitely take on that challenge because I love challenges. Who doesn't? It's just like what Barney Stinson says in How I Met Your Mother: challenge accepted. Whenever he's challenged to do something, right, out of the ordinary. So one day I will definitely partake in that challenge to run a mile in 4 minutes. And let's see if I
can say it's probably pretty common now. Probably a lot of people do it, no problem.
well,
4 minute mile.
Let's see if I can do it one day for sure. Yeah.
A 4 minute mile. Yeah.
Have you ever done it before, Adam?
I hate running. I don't like running at all.
But no.
As far as like exercise, I would rather do some kind of organized activity, basketball or tennis. I love tennis. I love basketball.
I'm not good at tennis at all.
No, as far as just getting out there and just running to run, it hasn't bit me yet. I got a lot of friends that would say the same thing, but then a few years later, they wanted to get some exercise, so they decided, well, it's the easiest thing to do. It's one of the cheapest, right? Put on a good pair of shoes, put on a jacket, and go run for about 20 minutes or so, or a couple miles. And it was like an infectious bug that bit them to the idea where they just can't get enough of it now, or it grew on them to be like, all right, well, I want to compete in some 5Ks and do some marathons and stuff like that, where then there's more, I guess, efficiency towards running because you're actually running for a goal instead of just running to say, hey, I'm going to go out there and run every morning just to lose weight or whatever have you. Although I could tell you I probably need to start doing that. I feel like I'm a little bit more out of shape lately. And running would probably be good, but man, I just find it just so boring. But then again, nowadays I think it probably wouldn't be bad either because it's a great way to clear your head, and you get that runner's high. Runner's high,
oh yeah,
where the endorphins are going. And
wait, before you run, do you do any form of stretching? Stretching?
Yeah. Before I do a lot of things, I stretch.
Okay, yeah.
I've always been made fun of how much I stretch before I do things.
What? Wait, are you talking about?
Yeah. Sometimes if I go play pickup basketball or something, I'll spend like 5-7 minutes just stretching it out before I even take a shot. And they're like, are you gonna play? Or are you just gonna stretch? Are you gonna do aerobics? Or are you gonna actually play hoops? Like one of those things.
Huh. They just don't realize that stretching serves a purpose. Like, I remember back when I used to do a whole lot of physical activity without stretching beforehand. You know what happened? I actually ended up not experiencing a major injury in one of my calves, but I definitely could feel it every time I would try to run, and then it would tell me, all right, take it easy, because I wasn't stretching enough. But ever since I started stretching and whatnot, and started doing more lower body exercises, like going to the spin class or doing leg day at the gym, I noticed that and bike riding, of course, around the neighborhood, my legs have gotten stronger to the point where that's not an issue anymore because I'm being more safe about it, which is exactly what you should always prioritize. Safety, that's what they always say. Am I right?
Yeah, safety first,
I'm
right?
I already knew I was right, but I asked anyways.
Safety first. If you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
Safety first.
Anyway, as we're rounding out towards the top of the 11 o'clock hour, we want to remind everybody that if you have any questions or comments in lieu of the COVID-19 and what you needed to figure out within the county, the health department is encouraging you to call. They have a 24-hour dedicated call center for COVID-19. That number is 1-866-779-6121. And the idea of giving them a call is to even talk to them in lieu of your concerns about maybe feeling like you've come across somebody who may have had the virus, or if you're experiencing symptoms, to ask those questions, and then they can put you right in touch with where would be the best place to go. They say even that during regular business hours, you can reach them on a local number of 352-644-2633. Now, with these hard times also, just from avenues of the idea, is the in case anyone needs this, which I'm sure a lot more people are coming to needing this. And what it says here is United Way. The United Way has a COVID-19 Community Economic Relief Fund that can possibly help with bills, with rent, and even with food. You can call this number 1-866-211-9966. If you provide your zip code, they will be able to give you a list of local agencies to provide assistance in anything that you need, from help with bills to rent or food, with United Way's Economic Relief Funds. So I want to leave you guys with that one more time, 1-866-211-9966. And with that being said, as we round out our time here, hopefully we got you started with your Monday, as we're now approaching this first full week right here the last full week in March.
Full week of March.
Yeah, I don't want to do this month over again, so to speak.
Yeah,
we want to get through it and
argument.
move forward. So with that being said, too, I hope we got your week started correctly for you. We keep you informed and a little bit entertained here at AM Ocala Live. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, WOCA Ocala, The Source. So we want to say thank you. And on behalf of Lena Williams and, of course, producer Joe and Carlos, thank you very much for sitting in, my friend.
Thank you.
As we say, or as I say, until tomorrow, goodbye.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The Federal Reserve
with Chris Barnes. After Democrats in the U.S. Senate prevent a procedural vote on $1 trillion economic stimulus package in response to the coronavirus, the top Republican Mitch McConnell says,
"This is, Mr. President, a national emergency, not a partisan opportunity."
Democrats claim too much of the money in the bill would be going to big corporations and not enough to American workers.
Large corporate bailout with no protections for workers and virtually no oversight.
That's the Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. Several senators are unavailable to debate or vote on the measure because of the virus. Both U.S. senators from Utah, Mitt Romney and Mike Lee, say they recently had contact with Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul, who has tested positive for COVID-19. So Lee and Romney are now self-quarantining. And this is USA Radio News.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
You know, you hear the commercials and it sounds, pretty hokey, to be perfectly honest, but I definitely have more energy. I don't get sleepy as early as I used to. I have fewer aches and pains. I haven't had any colds. It seems to be working, so I'll keep going with it.
Right now, Balance of Nature is offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code USA.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss. Does the sound of guaranteed income have you thinking about buying an annuity? Find out why Fisher Investments considers annuities about as attractive as a migraine, with their nosebleed level fees, no easy way out once you're in them, and other pitfalls. If you have $500,000 or more, call Fisher at 1-800-859-5500 for your free guide, Annuity Insights. 1-800-859-5500. It's your retirement. Know what to ask.
Another federal official urging Americans to stay home during the coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams says too many people are treating it like a party and are not taking social distancing advice and in some cases orders seriously.
I think that there are a lot of people who are doing the right things, but I think that unfortunately we're finding out a lot of people think this can't happen to them.
General Adams speaking there on NBC's Today Show. In the nation's capital, it's cherry blossom season. The Cherry Blossom Festival would normally be going on now at a fever pitch, drawing tens of thousands of people every day, but the pandemic has led city leaders to order them to stay away. Yesterday, many people did not stay away, and as a result, the National Guardsmen called in. They're now enforcing the stay-away order, also shutting down streets all over the nation's capital. And you're listening to USA Radio News.
You know, I've told you I get the best sleep of my life with my MyPillow, but I'm not the only one. Mark in Las Vegas told me the other day, we were talking on other business, he says he went to MyPillow.com, clicked on the radio listener special, and used the promo code USA. He got a great deal on a MyPillow, and he is enjoying his sleep now. You can too. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, use my promo code USA, and I promise you, you'll get the best sleep of your life or you get your money back.
Meghan McCain is having a baby. The View co-host making the announcement on social media yesterday, saying how excited she is to share the news. She says she'll be self-isolating on the advice of her doctors because of the coronavirus pandemic. McCain says she's very lucky. Her employers are allowing her to co-host The View from home via satellite. Movie theaters are closed. Well, traditional movie theaters, but drive-ins, some are open. Here's more from USA Radio's Wendy King.
The drive-in theater is once again experiencing a boom, with nearly all of the nation's movie theaters shuttered due to the coronavirus pandemic. Some drive-in owners think it's a unique position to give moviegoers a chance to do something out of the house while keeping distance from others. It's estimated in the U.S. there are just over 300 drive-ins left in the country. It's about the only place left you can go.
And word is a baby born in a toilet paper aisle at a Missouri Walmart last week is doing well. A woman gave birth to the baby while she was shopping there last Wednesday, and a labor nurse who just happened to be nearby helped as other customers blocked off the aisle. The store's manager, Jessica Hinkle, says once firefighters arrived and the baby was born, customers cheered as the new mom and baby were taken out of the store on a gurney. The baby and mother were doing well when Hinkle spoke to the mom again on Thursday. And for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
Tahibo Tea Club's original pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus doesn't grow on.
This is a special edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Coronavirus in America.
We have to help the American worker. There's never been a time like this.
I don't know what I'm saying that people don't get. This is not life as usual.
As we face this national emergency pandemic, now's the time for knowledge and clarity. And this is the place to get it.
Young people think they're invincible. What they fail to understand is that when they get it, then they can pass it on to their parents or their grandparents.
For those worried and afraid, please know as long as I am your president, I will not stop until we win. This will be a great victory.
And as we take it all in, we know that we'll get through this together. We're America. And now, here's Mike.
As he said, clarity, knowledge, calm, and kind of an appreciation that people have frayed nerves. People are on edge. People are getting cranky with one another, and all of that's understandable, certainly. We are in real unprecedented times. I hope and pray that Democrats and Republicans can come together in the U.S. Senate. It's frustrating to see what appears to be political gamesmanship taking place over a $1 trillion assistance package that would help companies and businesses and individuals. Nancy Pelosi flying into town and putting the kibosh on their bipartisan efforts. It seems that Nancy Pelosi isn't real high on bipartisanship right now when the rest of us are. I sure am. And I want to make sure that we have an acknowledgement that we are relying on our government right now, and it always makes me uncomfortable. I'd rather have less reliance on government than more, except perhaps when there's a pandemic and a realistic concern about getting through this together. We're going to get through this, and there's so many optimistic things to talk about today. Our kids are afraid. I'm getting a lot of email from moms and dads who are home with their children, and children are understandably fearful. A little bit later this hour, we're going to talk to a guest who's going to help parents with what to tell kids. Dr. Meg Meeker is the author of Raising a Strong Daughter in a Toxic Culture, 11 Steps to Keep Her Happy, Healthy, and Safe. You know, parents are trying to keep their kids happy, healthy, and safe right now as well. I want to share with you something I saw in the Washington Times over the weekend. Forgive me, this was over at Yahoo News. Michael Levitt is a Nobel laureate and a Stanford biophysicist. He began analyzing the number of COVID-19 cases worldwide in January. He correctly calculated that China would get through the worst of its coronavirus outbreak long before a lot of the health experts had predicted. Now he foresees a similar outcome here in the United States and the rest of the world. A lot of epidemiologists are warning of months, even years, of massive social disruption. I know that Governor Andrew Cuomo has been getting a lot of plaudits and a lot of kudos for his leadership. New York, of course, has been really hard hit. He said something over the weekend about this figure of 80% of New Yorkers could get infected, and we could be living this way up to 8 or 9 months. And frankly, I'm hoping that he has said these things in order to wake people up and make sure that people pay attention to social distancing, staying away from one another, staying home and working from home if you can. There is no way this country is going to go through 8 to 9 months of this. It's impossible. But I want you to hear what this Nobel laureate and biophysicist had to say. First of all, he noticed in China that on January 31st, the country had 46 new deaths due to the novel coronavirus, compared to 42 deaths the day before. Although the number of daily deaths had increased, the rate of that increase had started to ease off. So essentially, the car was still speeding up, but it wasn't accelerating as rapidly as before. 3 weeks later, he saw that the virus's rate of growth had peaked. He predicted that the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in China would end up around 80,000 with about 3,250 deaths. Well, he turned out to be remarkably accurate. As of March 16th, China had 80,298 cases and 3,245 deaths. That's in a nation of nearly 1.4 billion people, where roughly 10 million people die every year. We've got to have some perspective here. And sometimes the hysteria blinds us from perspective. So this doctor went into an analysis of 78 countries with more than 50 reported cases of COVID-19. He sees signs of recovery. Now, he says recovering from an initial outbreak doesn't mean the virus won't come back. China is fighting to try to stop new waves of infection. But even with incomplete data, a consistent decline that the experts are noting means there's some factor at work that is not just some noise in the numbers. Now, Dr. Levitt, like everybody else, says the social distancing mandates are crucial. Today we saw Massachusetts essentially issue a stay-at-home order. Same with Texas. Many states are following suit. I saw the Surgeon General on the Today Show this morning say we're going to be in for a rough week. The social distancing mandates are important and critical, especially the ban on large gatherings, because the virus is so new that the population has no immunity to it, and a vaccine is still many months away. He also says, listen, the public health measures that have shut down large swaths of the economy could cause their own health catastrophe, as lost jobs lead to poverty and hopelessness. Suicide rates can go up when the economy spirals down. But based on everything this Nobel laureate, you can look it up. We're going to post the article from Yahoo News at our website, MikeOnline.com. But again, his name is Michael Levitt, a Nobel laureate, a Stanford biophysicist. This is his area of expertise. And he said, and I quote, "The real situation is not as nearly as terrible as they make it out to be." Now, I'm not trying to frighten anybody, and I'm not trying to give anybody false hope. I'm just trying to absorb all the data I'm getting and all the stories I can gather, and I'm reading, and I'm constantly on the internet and getting news sources fed to me. And we are doing everything we can to provide level-headed coverage of this national emergency. And even Governor Cuomo is talking about today at a press conference the need to plan for the pivot that we're going to make back to economic functionality. I truly believe that we're going to come back stronger than ever. And don't bother to look at your 401k. Don't do it. It isn't worth it. Look at it in 6 months from now, okay? 3 months, 6 months from now. Pray that the Republicans and the Democrats can get together and stop the political gamesmanship. I don't think I've ever seen Mitch McConnell as mad as he was on the floor of the Senate last night. His cheeks were red. Here's cut number 6. Again, Chuck Schumer Saturday, hey, all systems are go. We're working together. It's bipartisan. We're going to come together. Pelosi comes to town. And suddenly the Senate Democrats voted in unison against the steps that we're trying to take as a country to put money in people's bank accounts. Here's the Senate Majority Leader, cut 6 last night from Fox News in Grabian.
So we had a high level of bipartisanship in 5 different working groups. And then all of a sudden, the Democratic leader and the Speaker of the House shows up. And I want everybody to fully understand, if we aren't able to act tomorrow, it'll be because of our colleagues on the other side.
Let's just hope that doesn't happen. But trust me, the American people do understand. Even the New York Times headline, which was shocking for the New York Times. Don't worry, they fixed it. They changed it later. But the initial headline, which is accurate, which is true, Senate Democrats blocked action on $1 trillion stimulus plan. You know, here's the thing. I get it if you are a progressive, if you're a leftist, and you don't like companies and you don't like wealthy CEOs. Now is really not the time to bicker about your anti-capitalist ideology. Now's the time that we got to get money into the hands of hardworking Americans who are frightened because their bank accounts are being depleted and they got to put food on their family's table. Would you disagree with that? 800-655-MIKE. Welcome to the Relief Factor Mobile Studios. My kitchen once again, social distancing, sort of self-isolating, trying to stay safe in the Relief Factor Mobile Studios. 1-800-655-MIKE. Press 1 to come on air. Press 2 to leave a voicemail message. Feel free to text us your comments. The My Pillow text line is open and ready to go. 800-655-6453. Please never text and drive. Although not a lot of people driving these days. And frankly, that's how it should be. Welcome in to the Mike Gallagher Show. It's it's a joy to tell you about the Association of Mature American Citizens. I saw some big political ad last night, and I noticed a little tiny graph at the bottom, little graphics paid for by the AARP. You see, they're a big liberal lobbying organization. A lot of people don't realize that. You don't have to spend your money with a liberal lobbying group that has not championed the values that AMAC has. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, $16 a year. You get your AMAC senior card. You get discounts on everything from hotels and travel and all kinds of benefits that you get everywhere else. And you have an organization fighting for your values, a conservative organization fighting against reckless government spending and the expanding scope of the feds. They're pro-small business and securing our borders. Join AMAC today. You'll be glad you did. Tear up your AARP card and go to GallagherForAMAC.com, GallagherForAMAC.com, or just call 855-624-6229.
Listen to Kelvin. What he's about to say could change your life.
I'm 6'2", and I was about 290. And I lost weight fast. I trimmed down. Now I'm about 235. I'm probably at about 9, maybe 10% body fat. That's great. I lost probably at least 60 pounds in probably 3.5, 4 months. Color of my hair is coming back. Skin looks better. Obviously gaining muscle. My muscle mass is coming back. Thank you for providing an awesome product. Somebody who actually has and does what they say they will. That's awesome.
That's great, Kelvin. Losing that belly fat in less than 4 months is outstanding. Since 2004, Andro 400 has been changing men's lives, like Kelvin, and can help you lose belly fat, gain energy, and improve your lifestyle. We guarantee it. Go to andro400.com for more true testimonials, before and after photos, and special discounts. Only available on andro400.com. andro400.com.
Computer systems in cars are the new normal, from electronically controlled transmissions to touchscreen displays to dozens of sensors, but all this advanced tech is expensive to fix if and when it breaks. That's why you need CarShield. CarShield has affordable protection plans that can save you thousands for a covered repair, including computers, GPS, electronics, and so much more. Monthly plans are flexible with rates as low as $99 a month. You can pick your favorite mechanic or dealership to do the work, and CarShield takes care of the rest. They offer 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. CarShield has helped over 1 million customers like me. I'm a customer. Drive with confidence knowing you got coverage from America's #1 auto protection provider. With monthly payment plans as low as $99 a month, you've got nothing to lose. Call 800-CAR-6000.